My presentation today is going to talk about educator effectiveness and ways that we can support our students in achievement and growth. This can be broken down into 6 components, and those are career readiness, cultural competence, equity, inclusion, research-based strategies, and social and emotional learning. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about myself. I've been a teacher in the field of mathematics for 14 years. When I was in school, it didn't come easy to me. I had to work hard at it, and this makes it very relatable to my students. I understand when they don't get it, so to speak. I have 4 children. The older 2 are autistic, so what I talk about today has a deep personal connection. We're going to talk about a brief overview of career readiness. It looks like self-awareness, so you know your strengths and weaknesses, being able to apply feedback, goal setting, advocating for oneself, seeking out opportunities to become better, and taking responsibility for the choices and actions that you decide to make. In my classroom, career readiness involves teaching my students about technology. Can they navigate it? Do they know how to handle things when they go wrong? Do they know how to ask for help? Do they know how to communicate their needs? Can they reflect? Are they able to take constructive criticism and apply it? And will they take ownership of their own mistakes, or will they give me a bunch of excuses? Some career readiness techniques I use are I allow mistakes to happen so my students can reflect. I hold them accountable to their choices. I model whatever I'm doing. So if I want them to behave a certain way, I make sure to model it. And I use questioning techniques so that they can arrive at their own conclusion without me necessarily telling them how to get there. A research-based strategy is something used in class that meets the 5 criteria. Addresses a core issue in education. The research is consistent. It measures what it's going to say. Conclusions are based on logic. No opinions or bias. It can be evaluated by someone. And we can replicate the results. While there's lots of research strategies out there, I chose to focus on feedback. When you give feedback to a student, you want to make sure it's goal-referenced, transparent, actionable, user-friendly, timely, and ongoing, and consistent. Basically, you want your students to be able to understand and be able to use your feedback so that they can improve upon their performance. Another research strategy is non-linguistic representation, and this is something I'm truly passionate about. A picture's worth 1,000 words is truly something I take to heart. These are all examples of things I use when I teach mathematics. These help kids understand and see the bigger picture, so it's easier to understand content when it's presented in this manner. One other research strategy that I really like is the jigsaw method. It starts out in a group, everyone gets a different piece of info, and then they join other groups who match their info. They come up with a plan, and then they return to their original group, and they share their findings with their other group members. This gets kids to collaborate, communicate, and become experts and all play a contributing role. Social emotional learning goes beyond teaching content. It helps kids identify health identities, ability to manage emotions, achieve personal goals, collective goals, how to teach kids to show and feel empathy, create and keep relationships, and to make responsible choices. Sometimes we refer to this as components of a hidden curriculum, but they're all equally important. We can promote social emotional learning by being very positive, communicating with our students, having meaningful conversations, setting expectations, but modeling our own expectations, recognizing our kids' emotions and acknowledging them, and casting a new light on mistakes, letting our students know it's okay to make mistakes. How can we learn from them and grow from them? Inclusion is when all students are accepted in their school community. Our goal is for the educational setting to be the same regardless of disabilities as much as possible. We often use the Least Restrictive Environment Act as a basis for interpretation regarding inclusion laws, and a lot of times inclusion expectations are tied to a student's IEP. IEPs and 504 plans are legal binding documents. They have accommodations that have to be followed and are not optional. And a lot of times this makes it difficult to define inclusion because there's a lot of gray areas. So we can't necessarily make the class setting the same for everybody because each kid has a unique plan assigned to them based on their needs. So it's important to keep that in mind. Group activities are a great way to promote inclusivity, but you want to be strategic about your grouping. Pick kids that work well together and kids that build upon each other's strengths. Differentiate instruction. If you know the content well, you know what to expect, you can anticipate difficulties and prepare for that. And give your kids resources. graphic organizers, immersive reader, etc. Those are all helpful. Cultural competence is the ability to successfully teach students who come from cultures other than our own. And this could include race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, gender, or disability status. So the key to doing this is to be open-minded and learn from your students. Some ways that I practice cultural competence is I like to learn Spanish on the side. I like to include Mexican food in my word problems so that we can talk about family dishes with my students. And then when my students take their the annual trip to Mexico, I allow the class to do a Q&A session and they get to talk about their trip. Equity, in short, is making sure that we make adjustments so that everybody has an equal opportunity. You can see in this picture, for example, we have different heights, so we adjust the pedestals so that everyone can reach an apple. We have different heights of people. We have someone who can't use their legs, so we have different bikes so that everyone can enjoy the bike ride. It's important to note the difference between equality and equity. Equality is when we all do the same thing. Equity is when adjustments are made. You can see everyone has the same block on the left. On the right, everyone has an accommodation. So on the left, this guy is making out pretty good. But on the right, everyone is able to see the game. Therefore, this is more fair. There are lots of different ways to promote equity in your classroom. You can use random selection, word walls, Google Forms so that everyone has a chance to use their voice. You can do strategic grouping, but you have to know your kids, know who works well together. Change your communication methods, change the way you word things so that the kid can understand it better. Do a variety of activities.